Hello and welcome to this week's vlog. And as always, I'm so grateful for you joining me. I intend to carry on doing these weekly vlogs whenever anybody wants to listen. So thank you and welcome to this vlog. And as so often I do, I want to mention a book that I have read. This one is called, what is it called? Out of the Comfort Zone. And I'm sure you're well aware with that expression, the comfort zone of our lives is where we feel comfortable. And when we're challenged to go out of the comfort zone, we feel perhaps a bit nervous. And this is a book written by George Verwer. George Verwer he actually died this week, but he was a wonderful follower of Jesus, and he was the instigator, creator of an organisation called Operation Mobilisation. Bit of a long word, or two words, but it still is going working all around the world. It's a mission organisation, particularly encouraging, engaging young people in mission work in many different countries. They had, I don't know if they still have, a couple of ships where they go around visiting countries, supporting local people, distributing literature, missioning, sharing the love of Jesus in lots of different ways. And it's a great organisation. Now, I need to go back now to, this is a long way, back to my teenage years. When I left school, a lady who was a Methodist deaconess, as they were called in those days, in the next village, realised that in the local Methodist chapels there were quite a few young people, but dotted around in the different chapels. So she decided, I think she was encouraged by one of the young people, to start a group in her home, in a village next to the one where I lived after school. And so she invited me and a few others to this weekly meeting. And I went along and met other people. And one of the people that I met was a young lady called Sue, and immediately felt a bit of an attraction. And we got to know each other and started going out. And I fell madly in love. And on a number of occasions, I asked Sue if she'd marry me, and she said no. And although we were an item, as they say these days, and I was persistent in that question. And then she dropped a bit of a bombshell. She said she'd volunteered to serve a year with Operation Mobilisation, this organisation started by George Verwer. And initially she thought she was going to India with OM. And I thought, how am I going to manage that a whole year without seeing Sue? In the end, thankfully, I don't know who made the decision, but she ended up in Manchester. So that wasn't too bad. I could occasionally travel up on the train and see Sue in Manchester. So she served her year with OM, as it's known, and it was a really important and formative experience for Sue, and she looks back with great fondness. So anyway, this is a book that George Verwer wrote. It was published quite a few years ago, in the year 2000 actually. It's called, as I say, Out of the Comfort Zone. It's about encouraging in mission, particularly leaders and those others who are called to mission in different ways. And the subtitle is Grace, Vision, Action. And he talks about how we need grace. In other words, we need to be gracious to those who maybe see things differently or decide to do things differently. We need a vision, a God-given vision to move forward in mission or in any aspect of life. And of course, we need action. It's no use just thinking about doing something. We need to get on and do it as God leads us. So it's a really good, challenging book. But the reason I mention that is not so much what George writes, although that's really encouraging, challenging, helpful. But it's a quote that he brings from the words of A.W. Tozer. If you don't know who he is, he was a very well-known Christian in days gone by. And my clock's just going off, but never mind. Well, that's a little light relief. So let me just read this quote from Tozer, because I was really challenged by it. He says, "The fellowship of God is delightful beyond all telling. He communes with his redeemed ones in an easy and uninhabited fellowship that is restful and healing to the soul. He is not sensitive or selfish nor temperamental. What he is today, we shall find him tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So God is unchanging. We can totally rely on him. He is not hard to please, but he may be hard to satisfy. He is quick to mark every simple effort to please him." And then he says this is the bit that really got me. "We please him most, not by frantically trying to make ourselves good, but by throwing ourselves into his arms with all our imperfections and believing that he understands everything and loves us still." Isn't that a great phrase? We please him not by frantically trying to make ourselves good, but by throwing ourselves into his arms with all our imperfections and believing that he understands everything and loves us still. Just a great reminder of the immense love of God, that we don't earn that love, we don't deserve that love. We can just enjoy it and be embraced in the arms of the loving Father, the one who loves us, a bit like the prodigal son. The father was waiting. He ran to the son and embraced him with love. In fact, I was listening to Charlie Mackesy, who wrote that wonderful book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And he said, in his opinion, the prodigal son story should not be called the prodigal son, but the running father. And I think that's something to think about. So anyway, that's all for today. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you.